Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Thursday edition of the Pies Nation podcast. Nicholas Sacco here with you as we look to preview what's to come this Saturday night when we take on the West Coast Eagles over at Marvel Stadium, one of our favourite places in the world. Fortunately, the final time we have to play over at that venue, but we need to make sure we get the 4 points and continue to build our lead on top of the ladder. But to get an insight into how things are looking over in the West, we thought it'd be an opportune time to chat to BackChat's Dan Const. Dan, welcome, mate, and thanks for joining us.
Hey, mate, anytime I can come and help out the Collingwood faithful, who it sounds like it's a pretty rough time for you having to trek out to Marvel. I know that's a fair distance from where you usually have to go, so my thoughts and prayers are with the Collingwood Football Club as they make the trek all the way down to Marvel. I can't imagine what that would be like. That must be really tough. So, no, I'm thinking about you in this really tumultuous time for the Collingwood Magpies.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's a difficult one to sort of adjust, but hopefully we get to a stage soon where we don't have to play it anymore. But we'll do the AFL a favour and, a bit of a world tour, just make sure everyone gets a bit of love.
Of course.
Nonetheless, very excited to see what the Pies can do. But before we get into
Pendlebury playing, because I don't know, does he play anywhere else other than the MCG? I don't know if he's allowed to go to Marvel or if that's too far from his radius.
We've gone real early with that one already. Very nice. Yes, I can tell you he is ready to go.
Yeah,
don't worry.
well done.
Don't worry. Packed his bags. Before we get into the Pies in a bit more detail, I think it's fair to say our listeners and viewers wouldn't be too prone to how things with West Coast are going at the moment, but thought it'd be nice of you to give us a bit of a summary about how things are and I guess how the Eagles are being perceived over at WA so far this year.
Yeah, well, let's go back to 2018. I think that's probably a good place to start. I thought that's what we're actually coming on to talk about. I didn't realise we were going to talk about the current state of the football team.
Sorry, mate.
We're no good. But 2018, look, Jeremy McGovern intercept mark, which starts the whole process of winning that premiership. So quick shout out to Jeremy McGovern, who retires as one of the greatest backmen to ever do it, one of the great Eagles. Yeah, it starts back to 2018. We swung for the fences to go again in 2019. Didn't really work out. A couple of things happened. And now we're at the point, 2020, what year are we at? 2025? Gee, it's been a long 5 years. The West Coast Eagles are no good. I kept, in my soul, I want to believe in their ability to win football games, but they currently just don't know how to play football, which is the main thing you need to know how to do when you're a football team. The West Coast Eagles, look, I'm a really confident West Coast fan. Like every week, I'm like, maybe we're a sneaky chance to win this one. But yeah, current state of the union, I guess, with the West Coast Eagles, our best key back is out or retired. Our best key forward is out for the season. Elliot Yeo, who's arguably our best midfielder, hasn't played all season. We have a real lack of a good quality spine within the club. We've got some good young players, but we are nowhere near a quality football team that can hang with good size. Look, we beat St Kilda and we played really well, but mate, that was a one-off. I'm not really sure what's going to happen on this weekend.
You've only got the one win this year, but you've certainly come close a few times already this season. You really could have got over the Bombers, for example, really close against Richmond and North Melbourne, as we know. So
to be honest, the Bombers, like if we beat the Bombers, I wouldn't even care. Like they're so irrelevant. They're so just mediocre. I couldn't care less if we beat the Essendon Bombers. So, we really took it to the Brisbane Lions. We were up by about 40 points at one point, and then we crumbled because we spent all of our tickets in the first quarter, which is pretty much what has happened throughout the season. We have this ability to play really good football for a short period of time, but we can't sustain it for the whole game. So there's been times, where we've stayed with the team until three-quarter time, then they just run over us because we're completely gassed, or we just give up one quarter, which breaks our back, where we give up 40 points in a quarter to nothing. So that's how the Eagles roll. We're good for a couple of quarters, maybe, or three. Putting 4 quarters together, I don't know how we do that.
That's probably a good sign if you're a Pies fan listening, because we probably only need 1 quarter in that case, so that's very nice to know.
Yes.
I want to touch on, you mentioned Jeremy McGovern, and I'll cheer you up a little bit and we can praise him, because as a Collingwood fan over the years, there have been 2 men in my mind that seem to towel us up each and every time we play him. One's Jeremy Cameron, who just seems to kick goals for fun against us. The other one was Jeremy McGovern, and Yes, 2018. It's been really disappointing to see all the highlights that have come from that game now over the last week since his retirement. But nonetheless, such a special player and someone that I'm sure you're going to miss dearly out on the football field. Tell me what makes him such a special person on and off field, and the impact he has had on that team since he came across, because you're right, he's been one of the best defenders definitely in this century, and he'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, well, basically, the way I look at it is that there aren't many players who actually change the way a game of football is played. Jeremy McGovern is one of those. If you look to sort of like the NBA with Steph Curry, he's not the greatest point guard to ever do it, but it's the first time that a point guard has played like that and have been such a good shooter, changed the way the NBA landscape sort of looked. So Jeremy McGovern is that guy. He, traditionally you got your one-on-one defenders who had played their role incredibly well. You got your Scarletts, your Silvanis and stuff who are great lockdown defenders. But then someone comes along like Jeremy McGovern who actually makes a difference in the game, who is that good that other teams have to go, well, that's how we have to play from now on. He, came into the club severely, just underdone, overweight, was almost taken off the list. He's brought in early days with Adam Simpson as the coach and said, mate, you're basically fat. You are nowhere near in the quality shape of a football player. And he went away and worked his ass off and was, now considered one of the greatest West Coast players of all time. And, will go down as one of the great modern day defenders of all time. So he's had such an impact on the club. We have struggled when he hasn't played because we're so reliant on his ability to defend, and we're so reliant on his what he does in the back line. So without him, it's always been a struggle to play as the West Coast Eagles because, their whole system in the back line is centralised around how good he is as a player. So now the West Coast Eagles have a tough job of completely changing their approach to defense. Luckily, we've got a couple of good young guys that are coming through. Harry Edwards is showing that he can be a key defender. Ruben Jinby proving that he can be a lockdown guy, very strong, athletic. So it's an interesting time for the West Coast Eagles because they no longer have that weapon. They no longer have that ability to rely on Jeremy McGovern. And so the West Coast Eagles have to change their game plan now purely because of him. So it's that much of an impact that one defender would change sort of a system, and that just shows his ability and how good he was that you could build around him like that in the back line. Because we see that in the midfield. You Dacos, you get guys like Nick Dacos, who the midfield's built around him succeeding, and the same with forward lines. Charlie Cameron. Jeremy Cameron, their forward line is built around his ability to kick goals. And so when they're not there and they have to change, it just shows the quality of how important they are to a football team.
Yeah, it's not as common, but you're absolutely right. And I'll be curious to see how West Coast do move forward with his departure. I think if you looked up his historical stats, I reckon a good 50 to 60% of his intercept marks came against us because we just absolutely loved delivering the footy down his throat. But no, a phenomenal player, and a shame to see him retire in the circumstances he has. So
still a very good 200 games. I think for a long, for a while when it was considered that he may retire, it felt like, it was really early, which it still is. He still had good years left in him, but he played 200 games, won a best and fairest, premiership player, all Australians. He's done a lot in his career. At least he's going out, a bit in his prime. He's not just, gassed at the very end and is a shell of the person he was. So it's sad in that regard that he's finishing up a little bit early, but also at least, he's gone out on a bit of a high.
Dare I say, or maybe assume or potentially think that his departure, because this will be the first game that the Eagles play since his retirement was announced, of course. Yes. It has to be against us, maybe a little bit of extra motivation for this side to get a little win?
Yeah, that's probably the only thing that I can see us somehow snatching a victory is there's a couple of things actually. Collingwood just going this is going to be a piece of piss, so easy. They can take the foot off the pedal, and we've shown that when we are when we can play at a really good high pressure and a good pace, and our skills are there, we can actually keep up with teams. Like I said, it's just not for a long period of time, but if we can sort of catch a team off guard and put a lot of pressure on, we can actually be good. And then there's also that motivation. You know what, boys? Let's fucking win this one for Gov. No one expects us to do anything here. Everyone expects us to get completely pantsed. Let's fully send it and put it together. And look, they need motivation to win. Like West Coast Eagles now, they're pretty much all but guaranteed the number one pick. There's no incentive to lose, to try and maybe get the number one pick or whatever. It's no, like, you just want to win games now and build on that. So hopefully Jeremy McGovern gives them a little bit extra motivation, but it's going to be a tall task to beat the number one team. It'd be an interesting stat to hear how many times 18th has beaten first. I can't imagine it happens very often. So maybe that's one for Sir Swamp Thing to figure out that.
Fun fact, we've actually done it against you guys.
Oh, really?
2005, when we were bottom, or maybe 15th, but definitely bottom two, and you guys were top of the ladder. We upset you over in Victoria. I don't know why that one sticks in my mind, but maybe history can repeat itself in that front. But what I was going to say on that front, we always expect teams to play their grand final against us. Bring it on. We're expecting the best West Coast that have come out so far in 2025. With Gov's departure, however, there is a little bit of a leadership hole, particularly on field at the moment. I think only 3 of your 6 players in the leadership group are actually playing at the moment due to injuries or other factors. And I know so much has been spoken here in Victoria about Oscar Allen and what his future looks like. And now that he's been ruled out for the rest of the season, I guess the media storms is only going to grow on that front. What do you do about that in terms of trying to create more leaders or just trying to get yourself by throughout the year and get these young guys through? Because I know it can be a bit difficult when you don't have that presence out on the field, and Gov was such a big player in that front, and I know you've obviously still got Liam Duggan, who's going to have to do the brunt of the work by the looks of it. Liam Baker's someone that's had plenty of experience in that younger Eagles side. I think even I heard Andrew McCalter say earlier this week that he might even inject some more players into the leadership group this season just to give him that extra help. But what does that look like in terms of building the next generation of leaders to lead that club forward?
Yeah, well, look, the good thing about so you mentioned Baker. Baker and Graham have been two, just from watching, I've been at every home game this year and just seeing their presence. Like when you go to games and you can watch things off the ball, you can notice a lot. And Baker and Graham have been two, unofficial leaders of the team, I think. And I think obviously their history with McWalter has helped that. And he's probably allowed them a bit of a leash to, go in and make your voice heard. You're only here for your first year, but they're premiership players. They're very experienced. They know how to win. They obviously know McWalter very well. And so their leadership on field has been really noticeable. And you can actually see when Baker is on and he's he's all the hustle plays that he does, all the tackles, all the hardball gets that he gets, it actually lifts the players. You can see the difference. So you've got Baker and Graham who have done an awesome job so far. Such good additions to the team. Although we haven't won, we've won one game. You can just tell the professionalism, the hustle, the desire to win from those guys, and it does have a flow-on effect to the rest of the team. Then you've got guys like Brady Hoff, who is still, he's only played around 50 games, but he plays with heart and soul. He's another one of those guys that I think plays above what people expect him to, and it lifts players. So I think there are guys on the team who can show leadership, but yeah, it is going to be interesting to see if, I don't know if it happens, if at all, where players get, I guess, promoted to a leadership position mid-season, because
strange.
I don't think, people obviously take over captaincy if the captain's injured and things like that. We saw that last year in Fremantle when Alex Pearce was out for a long time and Brayshaw and Sarong were basically trading captaincy in the later half of the year. But I don't know about promotions. I mean, I guess it's probably something similar, but we just don't see it with the vice captains, I guess. So yeah, really intriguing to see what happens. But there are definitely guys, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised, knowing how the guys talk about Liam Baker and Jack Graham. I wouldn't be surprised if they get full support by players to go, yep, come in and help us out. But look, I guess we'll see. I don't know if it changes too much on the field because they're already doing things as leaders. But I guess it's probably more like, I wonder what happens next year. If with Oscar Allen potentially not there, does Liam Duggan become sole captain, or do they promote someone else? I guess we'll find out.
What's your confidence levels about Oscar Allen actually being at the club next year? Because, again, from a Victorian perspective, it looks slim to none that he actually sticks around in the West.
I think there's just going to be two good teams know that they can offer big contracts, and the Eagles aren't quite willing to come to the table on a deal. I think. I love Oscar Allen. I think he's been awesome for our team. I think the last couple of years he struggled. He's gone through injuries and obviously having to come back and get his form, things like that haven't been on his side. But I just think he's so good, and it's a real shame that they're not going to. The West Coast Eagles, like, they've gone through this whole process of like, oh, will they, won't they? You think as a captain of a football club, you're pretty much getting them signed up as quickly as possible. But obviously there's a bit of a gap, and that's been a frustration even as a fan. You know, there's just the lack of transparency, which I guess is across the AFL. It's like, you know, with contracts. If the West Coast Eagles just came out and said, look, we're not really budging above a number, and Oscar Allen is getting good offers from other teams, we'll just have to see what he goes for, then I think that people would sort of accept that. But it's just the, like, we don't know what they're doing situation, which is frustrating. So confidence, I think from a head, like if I'm thinking with my head, it makes sense that the West Coast Eagles will get let Oscar go to a team that he wants to go for the amount of money that he wants to go for, because in return, they're going to get pick 2 for him. Like, he's going to trigger that band of compensation, which is going to come after their first pick, which is going to be the number 1 pick, unless they somehow go on a tear and don't, you know, and win a bunch of games and take over Richmond. They're going to end up with the number 1 pick, and the compensation from Oscar Allen is going to be pick 2. I think often people are like, well, Oscar Allen's not worth pick 2, but it's just the way that the rules work. Your compensation pick comes after your first pick in the draft. So if you're the West Coast Eagles, you're like, well, we're going to pay a lot of money for Oscar. I don't know if we actually want to pay that much money. We could get pick 2 for him. It's a really tricky one. Like, I don't want to, I'd hate being the decision maker, but you can see both sides of the story for sure. You can see why West Coast would be open to the possibility of him walking, because you're going through a rebuild. You want as much young talent as you can, and pick 1 and 2 in the draft looks pretty tasty. But I mean, Oscar Allen's got 7 good years ahead of him. Like, if he can stay healthy, like, it's not like he's at the end of his career. He's 25. He could have, it's not outrageous to think in the next 5 to 7 years in a good team he could win a Coleman medal. Like, he's that good. So I'm glad I don't have to be the decision maker and wear the decision. But as a fan, I love Oscar Allen. I wish he would stay, but I can see both sides of the story.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear plenty of details about it over the next few weeks.
Yes,
or so. What about the Pies? What have you made of them? We've got a pretty big contingent of Perth, Collingwood supporters, I should say, over in WA. I've always come to know, whenever I've done this podcast, we get plenty of support and engagement from fans over in the West. But in terms of 2025 specifically, what have you made of the Pies, and how much have you loathed seeing us play so well so far this year?
I just don't get it. I thought after a couple of years ago, maybe after last year, I was like, oh yeah, they're sort of done. Like, you know, mate, they're ready to fall off a cliff, and then they're just doing this again. It's just annoying. It's like watching the Boston Celtics or the LA Lakers, and they just keep being good. I'm just sick of it. It's the same with Geelong. I get the same feeling about Geelong, and they're just like, they're always there. Same with Sydney, except this year, usually Sydney are always up there, Geelong are always up there. Collingwood are just finding ways to do it, and I put my hand up at the start of the year. I thought, they're probably a risk of really fading and you know, maybe not making finals. Wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. They're just that good. They have little flaws in their list. They're just covered everywhere in the ground. And yeah, it's frustrating to watch, because I feel like we're at similar stages in 2018, like in terms of list profile and stuff like that, and where we're going. You guys managed to bounce back so quickly after losing that, then winning a grand final, and didn't, like, there's been times where you've sort of looked a bit out of it, but now you're just like, who's to say you don't win this year and be good again next year? And that's the frustration, that we were at the same point in 2018 when, you know, it was only 6 years ago. We've fallen so hard off a cliff, whereas you guys managed to stay above water. So it's frustrating, because it feels like we were so close together at one point, and now we couldn't be further apart, literally. So I hate seeing it. Yeah, and Collingwood fans, I just don't like. I don't. There's, you know, many fan bases that I think people feel like universally are hated, and I'd say Collingwood are probably one of them. A lot of people don't like Geelong, Carlton. So look, it's like you seem like Nick. You seem like a great guy. Honestly, it's not you.
Okay, I get it.
But usually, because like on Twitter, I'm very sarcastic, and I think people would think I'm a real dickhead on Twitter because like if they thought that was me as a real person, I'm just highly sarcastic, and anytime I get a chance to throw a little barb Collingwood's way, I like to, and people just think I'm probably an idiot, but I just like the sarcasm, and I feel like I get the most engagement out of Collingwood fans, so it's just an easy pick.
We're very easy to roll up.
Yeah.
I don't
you guys and Melbourne, actually.
Yes,
Melbourne fans
100%.
come out of the woodwork and go to town and send you DMs, and you're like, mate, I'm obviously being sarcastic. Ruben Jindy is not better than Lever. You can relax. I'm just trying to get a response out of people, which people don't seem to like.
He might be this week because Lever's getting dropped, so there's one for you.
I had something ready to go, and I was like, it's just not worth it, honestly, to get these DMs of people just like, you don't know shit, mate. You obviously don't watch football. Of course, like I'm just, it's just easy engagement.
No, we're used to the hate. I think, what was it, a couple of years ago when we were actually being liked by neutral supporters, and people were even going as far as saying that Collingwood were their second team because they liked how well we were playing and all the
very
nice
exciting
guys in the team. I didn't feel comfortable about that. I felt very awkward knowing that people actually enjoyed the way we were playing our footy. So I'm glad to see that we've quickly risen back to being one of the most hated in the competition. That makes me feel much more comfortable.
What about for you? Like, it must get boring winning. Because like for you as you create content around Collingwood, and it's like, we won again. Like at least for West Coast fans, I was riled up and passionate, and they just love to comment and get involved because it's so painful. Whereas for you guys, like, won again, who cares? Like, we'll do it again next week, probably the week after, probably going to win premiership. Like, can't care, like, couldn't care.
I think the difference with us is there's been a lot of generational trauma for Collingwood fans over the years, losing so many grand finals in the 70s and 80s. And I know from like my older family members and people I know that have lived through that, there's always been so much expectation placed on Collingwood, and that we're never satisfied until we actually go on and win the premiership. I mean, on our podcast over the last couple of months, we've been not arrogant, I won't say, but we've been quietly confident about the way we've been playing and that we can definitely go far. Arrogant. This year,
you feel quietly confident. There'll be people going, these arrogant pricks.
Each to their own. But the point I'm trying to make is that we still get fans that comment on our posts and be like, you guys are going too early. There's no way we're going to get all the way yet. Things could happen, and all these what ifs start to appear. And that's just the nature of Collingwood supporters. We just can't be satisfied until we're actually lifting the cup on the final day of September.
Mate, I guarantee you guys will win the premiership this year.
Guarantee.
There's no question about it. You won't get any injuries. You'll win every game from here on out. You'll win the premiership. Congratulations. It's already yours.
If anything happens, I'm coming back to this.
I'm trying to reverse moz it for you.
Oh, fantastic. No, I think the Cats are the only real challenges for us at the moment, I'd have to say, if I'm being completely honest. The only ones I struggle that we beat in finals. Before we wrap up with a couple other little things, you've mentioned NBA a couple of times. You got a team?
Yeah. I've struggled to talk about it, to be honest, because I'm a Dallas Mavericks fan. Ooh. I've been a Mavs fan since the early thousands, and I love Luka Doncic. Like we went through this era of Dirk Nowitzki where we were like, I couldn't believe that we had this guy, Dirk Nowitzki, one of the great. He's my favorite athlete of all time. Like over Ben Cousins, over every Eagles player, Dirk Nowitzki is my guy. I love Dirk Nowitzki so much. So we finished this era of Dirk Nowitzki, and we had this young guy from Slovenia come in, Luka Doncic, who then, like, I'm thinking, mate, this guy can be better than LeBron. We're so lucky again. Like, we got Luka Doncic. He's taking us to a finals. Like, next year we're going to be better. We're going to go to the finals again. And then Nico Harrison came in and traded Luka Doncic for AD, who can't play more than 30 games a season, who's highly injury prone, who is, he's still very good and a very good defensive player, but I just don't think he's on our next championship team, and we just don't get anything for Luka. And then Desmond Bain gets traded for 1,000 round one picks. All these players I keep seeing get such high trade value, and we got nothing for Luka Doncic. However, having said that, today was the draft, and we did land Cooper Flag with pick 1, which was 100% rigged, 1,000% rigged, that we gave the Lakers the new face of the franchise that's going to boost all the ratings for the NBA. And Adam Silver said, don't worry, Nico, I'll hook you up with pick 1. You can have Cooper Flag. So I'm interested to see what he's going to do. But I was going to throw basketball in the bin for a while. And the thing is, being a West Coast fan, I'm looking at the same thing now with Harley Reid. And I did say, if Harley leaves the Eagles and after Luka's gone, what's the point of sport? I don't care about it anymore. Throw it in the bin. So I'm a Mavs fan, but I'm just struggling right now.
Nah, that's totally understandable. Well, I support a team that knows all too well about giving 500 first-round picks for a player in the Knicks.
Fan.
Knicks. Yes, New York.
You got Jalen Brunson from us, who, again, we drafted that guy, pick 13.
Yes.
He was so good, and we traded him. We could have had Jalen Brunson, Luka Doncic on our team. It would be unstoppable.
Yeah, I know. Well, I feel like this season was a missed opportunity as well as the Pacers played. I felt like that was our year with Boston and Cleveland out, but not to be. You touched on Harley Reid. What number is he wearing at Collingwood next year?
He's not. Yeah, look, he can have 9. Who's your number 9 at the moment?
Dan Houston.
Oh, mate, he's rubbish. You gave up so much to get him. What do you?
Just settling.
You must be flat about that.
Look.
Although you guys are so good, if you guys were playing bad, you'd be hating Dan Houston.
Well, the example I look at is Lockie Schultz last year when he came across from the Dockers, and he was known as the scapegoat pretty much because we weren't playing well, we didn't make finals, and he wasn't having the same output as he did at Fremantle, and all of a sudden we all turned on him. Well, I'm not counting myself. I had my doubts, but I certainly didn't feel like he was playing as poor as others were probably suggesting. Now he's one of the most important players in our 22 with his pressure, and he's starting to hit the scoreboard a little bit more, and the little things that he does on field. We're really missing him out there at the moment with the injuries that he's had. He hasn't been able to get a good run at it. So I'm trying not to look at Dan in the same light. Obviously, we did, give up a fair bit for him as well, and there's a lot of expectation. But fortunately, he's playing in a really disciplined backline system that I think is allowing him to not have the pressure or the expectation to carry the load when you've got Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe, who have both been terrific. Isaac Quain has started to come really good. Billy Frampton's been excellent playing that role. Unfortunately, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks as well. I don't think the pressure has been on Dan necessarily from a defensive standpoint to be the one that makes the moves. He's still an elite kick of the footy, and I think that's been really useful for us when we've had him available. So I'm not going too hard on Dan at the moment. He's still going to take some time. I think in the years to come, if this is the same output we're going to get, and I understand that there's going to be some questions that need to be asked. But for now, I don't see too many issues. I think he's probably the third most impactful recruit we've had from the off-season. I think Harry Perryman and Tim Embry have, in the short term at least, have been definitely more influential with the way that we've been going about things. But no, I'm all in on Dan. I still think he's got a role to play in this team.
Yep.
So,
you got no chance of Harley Reid. He's going to be playing at West Coast next year.
Okay.
This is my gut on Harley Reid. I think he signs a 2-year deal, which takes him to 20, whatever it is. I can't do the maths of 2. But at that point, there will be teams that will be offering ridiculous money, and there'll be probably more teams the ability. Like he could go and probably do a tour of the AFL, and every single team will throw ludicrous amounts of money at him. It makes financial sense for him to sign a short-term deal and then leave him an opportunity. And you know what? It gives... 2 years is probably not enough, but if I'm the West Coast Eagles, I'd say, mate, give us 3 or 4 years, and if you're not satisfied at the end of that, you've still got 10 years left in you.
Exactly.
And we'll let you go anywhere you want. Give us a few years to prove that this is a great place to play football. And if we're still at the bottom of those few years, go. I would say Harley, go. Go win your premierships, go win your Brownlows, do whatever you want. But I think it makes sense for him to stay around. And the thing about Harley is he's never really said anything, and that's why people just keep throwing up suggestions of where he's
trying to get something out of him,
or the AFL in particular have tried to lure him out of West Coast, which is disgraceful behaviour by the AFL and their media department. Going, oh, where should Harley go? What are you talking about? He is a contracted rookie on his rookie contract at the West Coast Eagles, and you're trying to lure him out to bloody Essendon or your other teams. So my gut is that he stays around and signs a short-term deal, and then gives the Eagles an opportunity to show that they're a club that he wants to play for a long time. But Western Australia is a great place. The good thing is he's like, people say, oh, let's go back to Melbourne. He's never been from Melbourne. Like, Melbourne's a city in Victoria. He's from Victoria. It's not like, oh, I want to be in the CBD. He's never lived there. So Western Australia is as close to paradise in Australia. So there's no better place to live. He can be the king of Western Australia, earn as much money as he wants, play for one of the most prominent clubs in the AFL, even though we're pretty shit at the moment. But obviously I'm speaking with my heart right now. I just hope he stays, and we'll bounce back. We're too good of a club to sit here forever. We're not St Kilda. We're not North Melbourne. We're not, I don't know, all those other bottom dwellers that just hang around and don't do anything. Like, we'll be back.
Can't wait till he's probably going to be in Geelong colours in 2 years, let's be honest. But in your sake...
I will go down to GMHBA with a magnifying glass and be looking through every single fine print of every single contract, looking at receipts. I will tear that place apart, finding out how they can pay these players and stuff like that. It's just outrageous. Geelong is probably the one that I'm most scared of, because it's similar to where, it's not the city. It's like, apparently it's an awesome place to live. It's, it's not quite regional, but it's not quite the city. And they're a very good club, powerful club. If they've got money, then another Cotton On contract maybe can go to Harley.
Don't even get me started. We'll wrap up very shortly. Just on this game, I always like to know from an opposition fan's perspective, where do you feel like you can beat us? Is there one particular area in our game coming into Saturday's match that you feel like you can get on top of that will give you the best chance of winning? Are there plays you want to try and shut down? You're going to try tag Nick, for example. Where do you see you getting the 4 points this week?
We could put 3 players on Nick. It wouldn't matter. So I think you got to try maybe just Jack Graham, get in there and rough him up, and I'll pay the fines if they're gonna if he's gonna get a fine for tickling him, and
that was ridiculous.
Nick's gonna keep diving and try to get free kicks and stuff like that. Like, you can't beat him because he's too good of a player, and if he's going to throw that into the game as well, then good luck. Look, our forward line's decimated. We're playing a rookie in Job Shanahan in the forward line, so he's apparently really good, but he's never played a game of AFL before. Our back line, obviously, Jeremy McGovern's gone. Midfield, Elliot Yeo's not playing. Look, I don't know where we can beat you. Maybe literally, there's just nowhere where we could even be better. But there's no.
Oh, okay.
Maybe our back line can just play out of their skin, and we can just grind it out, and it just be a low scoring affair, and we can somehow snag a win. But mate, it's going to be tough. You know what I would have said if Jake Waterman was playing, if he bobs up and kicks 5. That's been our secret sauce when he's been playing well and he's kicking goals. Like, we're a good team. He's not there. When Elliot Yeo's having a blinder in the middle, like, we're a good football team. He's not there. When Jeremy McGovern's intercepting everything, we're a good football team. He's not there. So I'm probably just highly pessimistic right now. Where can we win? Maybe motivation. Maybe that's it. Maybe you guys are just like, can't be fucked. There's no point playing this. It's going to be an easy win. And the Eagles have everything to throw at them. So Who knows?
Well, my concern is complacency from our end, is that, like you said earlier, that we just roll in and, we got a couple of players out, but we just think, all right, we'll put you away pretty early, and that will be the end of it. Because, as I've said before, even the lower sides have forced us to play down to their level, and it's become a bit more of a scrap. And St Kilda are a prime example of that last week. I would have been so disappointed if we had have dropped that. And fortunately, we're able to pull our heads in and go on and win the game in the second half. But that is my concern with West Coast, especially at Marvel Stadium, which I think I've mentioned 8 or 9 times now this week that I really don't like us playing there. But I think if you can get us, there's the extra motivation for Gov. It's a little bit of a free hit because you've got pretty much zero expectations of getting close to us. So that might put us on the back foot as well. And I just think as long as we're disciplined and we stay focused on the task, we should win and win well. But it's never the Collingwood way. Even though we have been putting sides away a bit more often this year, It's never been a typical Pies performance to go on and win a game by 10 goals plus. We've always had to make it close. We've always had to make it interesting. We're one of the most entertaining sides in the comp for a reason. So I'm fully expecting this to be closer than it should be, but obviously us going on to win the 4 points.
Well, the last time I was really confident in the West Coast Eagles to win a game was against North Melbourne when they played over here in Bunbury.
Oh, yes.
And I did make a bet with Hamish Brayshaw, who is a massive boner, loves the shin boners, about a tattoo. And so now I am rocking a little kangaroo, if you can see
Yes.
that, which is a recent addition. He was going to get the Eagle. I was just so confident. So I guess that's rocked my confidence in how we can beat you. But yeah, the motivation factor, I agree, is probably the only way we get it on you.
Yeah, all right. I won't ask you to get a pie then if we get up then, because I think.
Well, I can't probably get a pie because I already have a fillet of fish that sits right above the kangaroo. So I can't have. I think one food tattoo is probably enough.
Yes, I think you've done pretty well there.
Yep.
All right. Well, Dan, it's been fantastic to have you on our podcast. It's been great to get a WA perspective, and good luck for Saturday night. Not too much, of course, but hopefully after this week we can see the Eagles get a few more wins for you this year.
Absolutely. Even if it's Dom Sheed from the boundary, who knows? We'll just maybe get a win.
All right. Well, on that note, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.